Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. For those who haven't been to the Mayor's Gallery here at Metro Hall, I hope this is a good experience. I think it's a really beautiful room, and I think appropriate for the level of celebration that we have today for all of you who have gone through the Louisville Welcome Academy. And when I say welcome, I not only mean welcome to this space, but also in a larger sense of welcome to our community. We know that immigrants have made America, and they make our city great, and your presence here in our community is making our city a 21st century city that's going to compete as a global city in the future. So I'm very excited to have you here, and welcome. Welcome also means that our city is putting forward policies and practices. It's not just a handshake and a hello, but it is deliberate practice and policy that we put in place to make sure that once you get here and we do that handshake and hello, that you have the resources and services to get where you want to be and to become a productive resident of the city of Louisville. And that's the reason why we have this Welcome Academy. It's designed to take those who are already leaders in their community, who've demonstrated that capacity to connect people, to take the bull by the horns as such, and to find ways to ensure that the people who are their family, friends, their community members get access to the things they need, to be successful here in the city. And so that's why you're here today as a Welcome Academy leader. We have 68 alumni members now, including you. And that is really impressive. We've done that in a little over 2 years. And the reason why we are working towards this is because we know that the real way to make the impact that's going to help our international communities is by making sure that the leaders within those communities have the resources, service, the knowledge, and the networks to do it. And that's what this is all about. So for those who allowed us to borrow your friends and family members for 6 months, what they've gone through is an intensive kind of deep dive into the functions of city government, learned a little bit about leadership, and understanding how city government, along with other sectors in the community, including our nonprofits, our business community, and our faith communities, come together to become a great city, and how you fit within that, within that structure. So you're not only joining 68 alumni members as you graduate out of this Welcome Academy class, but you are joining 43 other countries that have participated in this class as well. And we've seen how our alumni have taken what they've learned and brought that out in the community. There's real substantive examples of that. They start businesses. Abduli Cham in the second class started his own transportation company, went from 1 van, and he now has 8 vans that he's using here in the city. We have those who are using their organizational capacity to reach out and help the community through volunteer events. One of the best examples of that is Hamza Foy, who's over at the Guiding Light Mosque. He does that every single day. They bring resources to their communities. Just a couple days ago, Farhan Abdi worked with UPS, with our Civic Innovation and Technology department here in Metro Government and the Office for Globalization to open up a computer lab at the International Mall just over here on 8th Street. We have those who have inspired to do the highest form of service in our community. One of our grads, who many of you know, is Nima Kulkarni, and she just recently was elected to be a representative in the Kentucky State House for the 40th District, so that's really impressive. And then your own classmate, Catalina Barra, has taken on the mantle of getting the word out about the census and how important that is to our community. So we are watching and seeing our alumni and graduates go out into the community, not only working within their communities, but also reaching out to the larger community as well to make benefit for everyone in Louisville. So I want to thank you for giving your time and energy. I know this is a big commitment, but the bigger commitment is what you're going to do with this once you leave this room. So I look forward to seeing what happens from this point on, and thank you for being my neighbor, thank you for being my colleague, and thank you for being here in Louisville. So for a few words of encouragement and perspectives on his thoughts on the international community, our Mayor, Greg Fisher.
Well, a big thanks to Brian. He's an amazing leader for our community and certainly for Metro government as well. So we appreciate all that you have done and are doing for us. So thank you very much. Well, I want to say thank you to you all for the amazing citizenship that you've shown by taking the time to dedicate yourself to this continuum over these last 6 months or so. You know, there is so much to learn in the world, and there's so many opportunities. And then there's those folks that kind of take advantage of it and go through the door of opportunity when it knocks. And then there's those that don't. But when you go through it, it's just, I think, so much fun about what you can learn about. There's so many different aspects of life. And this point, it was city government. So I want to thank you guys for doing it. It's a commitment, but I know a lot of you all, and you all like to learn, you like to be involved, you like to lead, and this is just another opportunity. And Brian's recitation of our alumni and what they've achieved, I mean, you guys have got a great legacy behind you and one to build on as well. So I would just say jump in there and really go for it. You know, it's been really important to me to make sure that our city is globalizing faster and faster all the time. I think it is absolutely imperative that our kids grow up in a community that looks like the world. So it's imperative for your all's kids and grandkids and those that are native born as well, so that we're as comfortable operating in the west end of Louisville as we are in Shively, as we are in Mexico City, as we are in Damascus, wherever it might be. People need to be able to get off and see folks just as human beings, that we're all in this together. And the more interaction we have with each other in our city, the more that's going to prepare people to contribute not just here but around the world. So I think I've got a good feeling that people see that more and more all the time. You know, about half of our population growth as a city has taken place from our foreign-born population. So to me, that's really exciting. And several of y'all have been in our city long enough that you've seen the kind of change that comes with that. We're having populations in our city, whether it's the Cuban population, the Mexican population, the Syrian population, Pakistani, Bosnian, it goes on, where the numbers are getting, big enough to where the cultures of their communities can sustain, restaurants and nightclubs and coffee shops, so that you kind of have the best of both worlds, that you remember where you came from, you keep those traditions going, and then, of course, you're living here in the great city of Louisville as well. I love to share the stories of some of our famous immigrants that have gone through tremendous hardship to get here. Yesterday, we were at JCPS at Doss High School, and Doss has a partnership with GE Appliances to be an academy so that the youth there are learning math and English and science through an applied application. In this case, it was manufacturing. And so GE actually has an assembly line in place at Doss, and that's one of the classrooms there. And so yesterday we kicked off a new program called GE to Work. And if you're at high school at Doss, you go to work at GE Monday and Friday, and then you're at high school for 3 days. While you're at Monday and Friday, you're integrating some of your classroom work there. But then they get a $6,000 college credit, tuition credit. So to hear from those young folks, one guy spoke, he arrived in the country in 2016 from Rwanda. You might have seen him on the news last night. He was incredible. And he just basically said, my purpose is to help people. And so I've been here for 3 years. He's taken a leadership role on in his class. The class elected him to speak for them. And as he told his story of, coming from a refugee camp in Rwanda to being here just 3 years later in this amazing journey that he's been on through a foundation of hardship, and now how he's moving on to the University of Louisville. He'd like to go to speed school so he can be an engineer, but he's just taking advantage of every opportunity that's come his way. And to me, that's so much the story of immigrants in our community and all around the world. You can think about Fernando Martinez. Some of you all may know Fernando. He's a guy that escaped Cuba on a raft, came to America. He's now, I think, one of the most well-known restaurateurs in this part of the country, if not the entire country. And he's building great restaurants and great employment opportunities. And he never thought that was going to happen when he was probably swimming with the sharks, literally, on the Straits of Florida, coming from Cuba. Or there's a person that I know. She's a daughter of some immigrants that fled the Greek Civil War after World War II. She was born in East Chicago, up by the steel mills up there. Her dad worked with the steel mills. He got sick. They went back to Greece, but her high school counselor was a graduate of Berea College in Berea, Kentucky. So their family didn't have any money, so she went to Berea College and then went to the University of Louisville Medical School. I happened to meet her at a Valentine's Day party in 1982, and she's now my wife. So the best way to appreciate your international population is marry somebody that's from another country. But she, when she was 8 or 9 years old, she was at the Museum of History and Science in Chicago, saw an exhibit about life and the beginning of life and the different stages that an embryo goes through, and she said, I'm going to be a doctor. They didn't have any money. Her mom and dad never bought a car so they could put all their money into their kids' education. And in one generation, their mom and dad, who had a 3rd and 6th grade education, my in-laws, because they were disrupted by the Civil War, they went from a 3rd and 6th grade education to a PhD, an MD, and a master's degree. And so this is the story of immigrants in our country, right? And this is why we embrace a globalized city, certainly here in Louisville, and are really happy that you guys are a big part of that as we just prepare ourselves to compete more effective on a global basis and national basis. We do that so that we have opportunity, so that your all's kids want to say, I want to grow my future here in the city of Louisville, Kentucky. So we have to grow to make that happen as well. I think what the country is looking for right now is they're looking for cities that are innovative, that are equitable, that are compassionate, and that are global. And you know, it's no secret that at the national level, we're struggling right now. We've never heard this kind of divisive speech coming out of Washington, D.C. that we are right now. That will be held accountable, I believe. And so we look to cities for examples of where there's hope. And I can tell you all over the country, and I work with all the mayors of the country, they're doing good things like we are in our city as well. 99.9% of the activity that takes place in our city and all over the country every day is beautiful activity. Events like this, events like I spoke about yesterday at Doss High School, or when we were together at the Somali Computer Lab the other day. That is the United States of America. It is not these, carefully selected news stories or sound bites that you hear on the media that they play over and over again. So when you think about your life, and really most of the beauty and joy that you have, that's what our country's all about. So we've got to be fierce in terms of us defending that at the local level and celebrating our diversity and inclusiveness to make sure that, in fact, is our country. So I feel very positive about how all that is coming together. I would just encourage you all to keep doing what you're doing. In some cases, when immigrants come to the country, especially when refugees come sometimes, they come under very difficult circumstances, and the natural reaction is to kind of be around people like they are, because you're in a strange land. It can be very intimidating. You don't have enough resources to get past what you need, and so then you just go back to your community. But then I would say that's a good place to have a comfort zone. But then how do you go out from your community into the broader community? We know we've got a lot of tremendous resources in our community for that, whether it's our resettlement agencies, our mosques, our temples, our churches, where we start integrating much more broadly with each other. What does that do? That starts creating relationships for us that then lead to more and more opportunities. Because if we don't know each other, it's hard to have trust with each other. The more we know each other, we have trust, and that opens up opportunities for all of us. You all have done that by coming through this class and by doing it day to day in the community as well. Or Imam, you in the mosque have done that in an incredible way, where people see a mosque in our city as a holy place, a place that's welcoming. It doesn't matter if it's a mosque, it's a Hindu temple, a Jewish temple, a Catholic church. It's like these are places where we come together to celebrate our differences but embrace the common heart that we have as well as human beings. So I'm proud of the way our city continues to advance in this area. So one area I'd like to ask for your all's help in is in the upcoming census that we have. Census 2020, as you all know, Catalina Cordova is our census director for the city. So what's important is that we count each and every one of our citizens. Why this is important is federal dollars, support dollars, follow the population. So for every person that we don't count, it costs us thousands of dollars in terms of lost money that would go to infrastructure, to schools, to health care, et cetera. So you will be hearing a lot about the census between now and when it starts in March of 2020. A lot of folks, when they're new to the country in particular, are like, what's this all about? You know, don't have a lot of trust in what's going on here. So the best way for us to have an accurate census count is to find those trusted individuals in a community so they can speak to their communities as to what the importance of the census is, the confidentiality of the data. So I'm sure that we will be using these graduations like this to reach out to your alumni group. So I would just ask you to keep census top of mind going into 2020 and make sure that everybody is counted, because everybody does count. And the higher the count we have, the more resources that we get as a community. So once you graduate from the academy here, you're a lifetime ambassador, and we'll be asking you to do things from time to time to help out, but the census is one of those things. So if you have questions or have ideas on how we can get the message out even further, please let us know. So either me, Brian, Catalina, Ricky, any of us, so that we can work with you to get that done. But my primary message today is just thank you very, very much for what you've done already, going through this class, what I know you're going to continue to do. And let's be bold with our goals. You know, we might have a little constrained city budget, but a lot of things that we do don't cost a lot of money. You know, but they cost human spirit in terms of, yes, we're going to do that. We get the souls in this. Human ambition in terms of setting big goals. And when we do that to help people and bring people together, like I say, it doesn't cost much money, but you can move mountains when you bring people together around common purpose and goodwill. And we will continue to do that here in our city. So thank you all so much for your leadership.
So it's tradition with every class that we have one member of the class come up and speak on behalf of the class. And you've been elected by your peers, Catalina, to do that today. So welcome up to the stage.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Mayor. My parents brought me to the U.S. when I was only 12 years old. And although I was finally reunited with my family, with all my siblings, I have 9 of them, I was still feeling sad. I was missing something. I was missing that family that we get to pick and call friends. Soon after my arrival, I started school. Way too soon, I think. But little by little, I started to make new friends. But there was something special about these friends. They happened to be from all over the world. I was able to learn about their cultures, their traditions, their music, but best of all, their food. The Louisville Welcome Academy made me think about those days. Now I have a new group of friends, but you are extra special to me. We were chosen because we are connectors, we are leaders. And we were chosen to strengthen our own communities with the information and networks that we were exposed to. So let's use the tools and all the experience that we got to help friends, neighbors, or just anyone that might need those resources. I want to say thank you to Brian, Ricky, and all the interns for putting the sessions together and for their time. Take you to the Office for Globalization. And finally, I just want to say I'm still waiting to try some food from some of your countries.
I actually think that's the best part of our ceremonies when we have these graduations. So, All right, so we have one more thing to do. I've got a little bit of a certificate to honor your time and your effort with the Welcome Academy. And what we're going to do is I'm going to say your name, come on up and get the certificate. Mayor, if you'll join us up on the stage. We've all done this before, so when you get your certificate, what you'll do is you'll come up with the mayor and you'll get your photo with him. After we're finished with the individual photos, and we'll have a big group photo up here on the stage all together. Sound good? Okay. All right, so our first person is Deanna Duran. All right, so this person has a lot of enthusiasm. I know you all know this, but Cassandra Hernandez Gutierrez. Awesome. Eliath Enriquez. Marcos Morales. By far our best dresser, Freddie Garcia. Firas, I know you told me how to say your last name. Firas Al-Jajali. Sandra DeVerge. Cristina Lugo Sanchez. Catalina Ibarra. Zeljana Javork. And our community partner, Angela Scharfenberger. All right, thank you, everyone. We're gonna come up and do the picture up here with everyone, if you'll join us.